your own tactic in Football Manager is one of the hardest things to master in the game. But the way I've been setting up my tactics across my saves has led me to countless success. If you want to achieve your dreams with your club in Football Manager, then you need a tactic that actually works. And that's exactly why I'm here to help you master it today. You might be thinking that we should be starting a tactics menu, but before that, there's a step we need to do before we can create our tactic. We head over to squad in our first team menu, and here we can see all the players that you have in your club. We have our goalkeepers, our defenders, midfielders, and attackers. We can also see how many of players we got in each position, and it is different from club to club on what kind of players you have and how many you have. So remember to have that in mind. And what you actually can learn from this screen is what kind of formation you should be using in your tactic. The next step you will be doing is creating your tactic that fits your team. So what you're doing is heading over to the tactic, and once you're in here, you need to choose a tactical style. We can see we have some thumbs up in different tactic styles, but just because you can see these thumbs up on your screen for the tactical styles doesn't mean you actually need to be using them. You can play extremely attacking football like Gegenpress, tiki-taka like Barcelona, you can play wing play, you can play counter-attacking football, park the bus like Jose Mourinho. You can basically create every single tactical style out there you'd like to be using. In this case, I'm just going to choose Gegenpress since Crystal Palace actually have the players for it. And after that, you need to choose your formation in possession, and you can either choose the suggested ones, or you can just press on all and you can see every formation in the game. In this case, I'm just going to choose this formation with a 3-4-3 that suits Crystal Palace playing style. And after that, you will send through the formation out of possession, and this is a new thing in Football Manager 26 that come out this year and has really changed the game on how you should be playing it, especially when it comes to tactics. A thing I love with this new feature is that you can be playing in a completely different formation in possession and then switch to a more defensive kind of formation when you're playing out of possession. And then once you're creating your formations, then you'll be heading with this screen where we have our different team shapes. We got combined, in possession, out of possession, and both. Normally, I use both since it gives me a greater view on my formations. With Crystal Palace, I have lined the team up in a 3-4-2-1. For your goalkeeper, you can either choose between goalkeeper, ball-playing goalkeeper, or nonsense goalkeeper. Most of the people out there is using goalkeeper or ball-playing goalkeeper. Only use ball-playing goalkeeper if your goalkeeper is good on the ball with his feet, his passing, first touch, and kicking. And the same with your center backs. In this case, for Crystal Palace, I have set up in a 3 at the back, where I have all of them on ball playing center backs, since they're all good on the ball. It also comes down to personal preferences and what suits your players the best, so have that in mind. In defensive midfield, we have Adam Walton on a deep line playmaker. If you're playing with two defensive midfielders, I really recommend you guys playing just one of them on deep line playmaker, since this will make, you can also see, we have a video that actually shows what your player will be doing. He will drop down on the pitch, receive the ball, and then maybe get the ball further up the pitch for more passing options. You also have your defensive midfield role. For your more defensive midfield player, this has been a very good choice, solid choice over the past few years in FM, and it's really just a good role. And when it comes to left back, right back, or left wing back, or left right back, yeah, it's pretty much down to the tactic again. Since I'm playing in this sort of way where I don't have wingers, you just need to use wing back, or you can use wing backs on your left and right back, since there's no wingers in this formation, so they kind of go up there and be the wingers in this tactic. And what's also very important out there that you guys should be doing is playing with 5 defensive players and 5 attacking players when you're in possession. This way just creates more balanced way of your formation and tactic. And trust me, if your opponent is on a counter attack, it's very nice to have 5 defensive players. And when you win the ball back, it's very nice to have 5 attacking players just to get that quick transition into attack and hopefully can break down the defenders and score a goal. If you do have wingers on the other hand and just have a left back and right back in the normal position, then I would recommend you just playing with a fullback, wing back, or you can also use an inside fullback if you don't play with 3 at the back but you actually wanted to. If you're playing with central midfielder, and new roles that's been added into this game is the midfield playmaker. If you haven't tried it yet, I would really recommend you guys out there to go out and try it. In my Liverpool rebuild, my recent video, I played Dominic Szoboszlai in a midfield playmaker. Just in a half a season, he got 4 goals and 14 assists. I know it's Szoboszlai and he's good on the game, but still, crazy numbers to get in just half a season. There's also channel midfielder, was kind of similar for the attacking midfielder, I think, in my opinion. But again, the channel midfielder, he runs a channel and he's a creative threat. So if you want more attacking kind of central midfielder instead of the midfield playmaker, you choose channel midfielder. But again, remember that it needs to be good off the ball so we can find those spaces. And you also got your normally advanced playmaker. Still a very, very good role in this game, especially when you have your player having the key attributes for it. But I would recommend you guys switching to the midfield playmaker role. It's just way better in my opinion. And also you got your attacking midfielder role, pretty much self-explaining, and the same for the central midfielder. When you're playing with attacking midfielders, I normally just put on attacking midfielder on all free roll. If I'm more of a creative attacking midfielder, the free roll has also worked really, really good for me. But I really just found out how insane this role actually is if you're playing with a lot of freedom in your tactic. So please try it if you're playing that kind of football. And for your wingers, there's also added some new roles into the game, which is the wide forward role. People normally go along with the inside forward when it comes to wingers, when you want to have them to run inside the pitch and have your wingbacks overlapping. But the wide forward role is even better than the inside forward role in my opinion. We all know that your normal inside forward is just sit narrow on the pitch and makes runs as soon that is the right time, where it runs in space, get that ball and go for a goal or assist. Again, it is a really, really good role, very effective. This is why it's been so popular in the recent FMs. But the wide forward role has now come into the game and it is better in my opinion. You can see we have our winger being more wide on the pitch, but as soon as the ball is getting further off the pitch to your more central midfielder or attacking midfielder, he makes a run and it still allows your wingback to actually overlap. And the best thing about that is that when you can see our inside forward, he actually cuts in between central defenders to make space for him in this right here. Your wide forward, he just stays wide on the pitch and then the ball can be played through them or over them to a wide forward, and this is where you prevent the opponent's central defenders to actually know what's going on. And the winger role has been buffed insane in this year's FM. I think also saw that some people last year at the end of the game, they actually started using the winger role. If your winger has good technical attributes, then I would highly recommend you guys using this. And up front, where we have Mateta, there's also some new roles in this year's game, which is the channel forward and the center forward. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember if this role was in last year's game, but the channel forward is really good. I tried it also in my West Ham save. The key thing to this role is that you need to have a striker that's fast and good off the ball. If you don't really got that, he doesn't really run into those channels and create those space for himself to get the ball. So have that in mind. You also got the false line and the deep line forward, where your striker drops off into space to let your wingers cut in or just help with the build-up like Xerxes did with Bologna. The popular advanced forward role has also been removed from the game, and that's a huge blow for a lot of FMers out there. The advanced forward role was probably top 3 or top 5 best roles there's ever been on Football Manager. But in this year's games, I feel like the center forward role is kind of like the new advanced forward role. I'll be hitting the same numbers as I did last year's game, with my strikers having them advanced forward and on center forward in this year's game. So please try it out if you haven't. And now we're moving on to the out of possession. As I mentioned before, this is a brand new feature on this game, and I've seen loads of people getting really creative out there, making insane out of possession tactics. But as in the in possession formations and tips and tricks I mentioned before, there's also in the out of possession. You don't want to have way too many defensive players when you're out of position, since this just makes it kind of harder for you to actually build on something when you're going for quick transitions, especially when you're playing counter-attacking football. Since in my case that I play with wingbacks and not fullbacks and having 3 central defenders, it's okay for me to be playing 5 at the back and 2 defensive midfielders. I would really recommend you guys out there to just have it on center back. I know there's stopping center back and covering center back, but when you're playing with the covering center back, he really just holds the position and doesn't really do anything. He just sits there. Doesn't make any sense for me that this is a role you can be playing with in this year's game. So just please use center back. I know there's also stepping center back, but if you're playing very aggressive, okay, if you're trying to chase that goal, pressing high the pitch, you can use stepping center back. But normally, just go with the normal center back. Just having them up there. For your right and left back, just have it on fullback, okay? I've seen a lot of people having them on pressing fullback. When you're in need of that goal and you're losing the game at the end of the game, then you can use the pressing options for defensive players instead of playing with them normally and regularly in games. Just trying to keep more balance, okay? You also have to think about when your players is pressing out of the position, moving out of the position. This creates space for the opponents to actually benefit from that and use that space that you're leaving to them. When it comes to the defensive midfielders, I would really just recommend you guys just putting on defensive midfielder. I've seen some people putting screening defensive midfielder. It's kind of like playing basketball where they just screen the defensive midfielder parts, but they really don't do anything apart from that. They don't press, they just sit there and try to screen. You could be doing it if you're trying to prevent your opponents from scoring and finding those empty spaces that you're leaving. When you're playing defensively and winning the game like 2-3-0, you can then go for it. But normally, please don't. Just having a defensive midfielder. When having central midfielder players in your out of position formation, you're gonna have central midfielder, pressing central midfielder, screening central midfielder. In this case, you can actually use pressing central midfielder even if you're not losing the game. It makes your central midfielder press the opponents, especially when you press up high. So you can either try between central midfielder or pressing central midfielder. Normally, I go with the pressing central midfielder since it's very, very good. When it comes to your attacking midfielders out of possession, I really just recommend you guys putting on the attacking midfielder or central outlet attacking midfielder, since this makes them stay high and ready for counterattacks, but they also do that on attacking midfielder role, and I haven't really seen anything. When it comes to your wingers, I wouldn't recommend you guys putting on right mid and left mid when having your wingers out of possession. I also mentioned in my waste time tactic video where I explained to you guys that when you're out of possession, when you lose the ball, your wingers instantly just go down there and stays there, and they really don't do anything when they're sitting right there. I know that they're tracking back and trying to cover up that space there is to the opponents, but in my mind it just make any sense since you're having your right winger and left winger marking a specific position, which we'll show you guys now. Go to out of position, got marking target, and here you choose mark position, and you want to have your right winger mark the opponent's left back, and you have your left winger mark the opponent's right back. This way your wingers will be tracking down by themselves, completely default, when your opponent's left and right back goes off the pitch, and that way you can actually mark them. Up front without striker, you can either have it on just center forward, or what I normally go with is the central outlet center forward. This way he stays high, press the opponent's backline and goalkeeper. In the team instructions, we've been introduced to a whole new brand of layout. Instead of having our normally instructions like passing at readiness tempo and all that, we now have on the left hand side, we can now see where our players will be at when we have the ball. We can see how we'll be when we are in our build up phase, where players will be standing here. We can see when our progression, we can see in our final third. When you're in the build up, I would highly recommend you guys just playing it safe, especially when you build your whole tactic on playing out from the back. Use playthrough passes and make your goal kicks. You can either have it on mixed, you can have it on long. If you're playing on a route 1 tactic, recommend you guys having it on just on short. Then for goalkeeper distribution, just have it on balance, unless if you're winning the game, you can have it on slow down pace, taking some time out of the game, or you can have to disrupt quickly if you're losing the game and want to see those quick transitions be made. Then you can have it on mixed, or you can have it on long. And goalkeeper distribution, just have it on center backs. I've seen some people having it on fullbacks. This way your fullbacks will just being pressed by 2 players when you receive the ball in most of the time, and it's kind of risky, I would say. When you're playing with your wingbacks, they get up in midfield, stays at the halfway line. Yeah, there's just normally no way for your goalkeeper to play the ball all the way out there without you losing it easily. So just have it on center backs. In progression, I would recommend you guys having it on overlap on both flanks if you have the same kind of tactic like me, where you don't really have wingers, or if you have wingers that just moves inside the pitch when you receive the ball, so your wingbacks can overlap, and just play with it. And then there's dribbling. You can encourage your players to dribble, or you can discourage your players to dribble. I normally just put it on balance, especially in the progression. I don't want my players to dribbling around like Prime Messi or anything in the midfield. Just trying to keep it very simple and not taking too many risks. Progression through, I normally just leave it on balance unless I'm playing like kind of wing play. Then we're having on both flanks. But I've seen many people out there just leaving it on balance. This way your players kind of play through on how the game evolves. You know, like when you have the ball, they play it around, find the best option instead of just going with the same idea every single time. Pass reception, try pass into space. Pass into space has been working so well for me, especially when you have your attacking players making runs into the pitch, which leaves space behind the back line where your players can either play a lob ball through it or pass the ball into space, which we have on. Just works really well. So just try having them pass into space. In final third, I normally have my dribbling on encourage. Since we're up front, we're at the opponents, we can dribble more, especially our wingers. So I would recommend you guys having on encourage, on patience. Then I normally just go for work ball into box. This is where you don't take too many risks having it on balance, having it on standard, sorry. But you could have it on standard, especially if you have a tall striker in the box where you can hit early crosses to him and make him score way more goals that way. Normally, I just have it on work ball to box. And then I discourage shots from distance, since I don't want to see my defensive midfielders taking useless shots outside of the box, which I've seen so many times. But when I do get the highlight and they're shooting outside from the box, it's normally a goal. So I would really recommend you guys doing this. Crossing style, it comes down to your players in the box that you have. The striker, attacking midfield, the wingers, whatever. Crossing style on balance just means that they go for all the kind of crosses that you can actually do. But the meta in this game is having it on low crosses, especially when you don't have tall strikers, wingers, midfields, or anything. This makes your wingbacks or wingers pass the ball into the box with them low crosses and can make your players first time their shot and then score a goal. For normal in position instructions, I would recommend you guys having it on either lower or standard, having your tempo on higher, not much higher, since this will make your players take too many risks and pass the ball between them so fast, which can lead to low risk and you lose the ball. Attacking width, I would recommend you guys putting on much wider, especially when you're playing with wingers, since this just makes your players stretch out the pitch, stretch out the opponent's backline, and make your players run into those spaces that they're creating, and that way you can get goals. But again, try it out. It's not every tactic that this works good with, especially when you're playing Tiki-Taka. Then you can put it on narrow, since you want to have your players being more compact. Attacking transition, just leave it on counter-attack. Works the best all the time. Creative freedom, if you're playing with a lot of free roles, like you have your inside forward, you have your wide forward, you got the attacking midfield, you got strikers running to space and all of that, try more expressive. This will allow your team to play more free, have more freedom on the pitch, and really make those creative players stand out on the pitch. Please try it. Since I've been using this, I've been winning a lot more games and have seen much more creative freedom for my players, so really try it. Time wasting, only if you're late in the game and you're winning, put on time wasting. And then you have play for set pieces here. If you're good on set pieces, then I would recommend you guys playing on play for set pieces. But if you're not so good on set pieces, just keep the ball in play. And now it comes to the out of position instructions. We start again with the overview. We have a line of engagement. I would really recommend you guys just having your line of engagement on high press, just normally. But when you're winning the game, you can put it on mid block, and then have your defensive line on higher when you're playing an attacking tactic. But if you don't and you're playing away from home, especially against big teams, I would recommend you guys putting on standard to start the game with. Then you can see how the game evolves. And if you're playing counter-attacking football, then you can leave it on lower or much lower. I want to give you guys a very good tip. When you're playing the last 20 to 30 minutes of your game and you're winning the game like 2-0 or 1-0 against a big team, you want to keep the lead and get the 3 points or just win the game, then try putting on much lower and a mid block. This completely parks the bus like Jose Mourinho would do. Really don't see any highlights from your opponents in the last 9 minutes of the game. We just want to hold on to your lead and win the game. For defensive line behavior, some people like to use step up more when they're playing attacking kind of football, but I just really don't like when they're stepping up more. Unless you're losing the game and you want to press up high and you're using much higher, then you can use the step up more to prevent your center backs from being out of position and to keep that defensive offside line compact. Just put it on balance, and please don't put it on drop off more. It's bad, okay? Don't use it. Trigger press, if you're playing a very attacking tactic, then put it on much more often or much often. I don't really see any difference between them. They might press that like 10% more when you have it on much more often. But if it's more like balanced or defensive tactic, then you can put it on standard or more often, much more often. Again, it pretty much comes down to your team and how good their stamina is and their aggression and stuff. So yeah, just try and adjust it based on that. Defensive position, put it on counter attack. You can also put it on regroup if you're playing counter attacking football. Then you put it on regroup, but normally wouldn't recommend you guys using this. Just keep it on counter press. For tackling, if you want to play kind of Brexit football, want to get into those challenges, if you especially want to have good players that's good on tackling, good aggression, get stuck in on. The downside of this is that you get way more cards. You get yellow cards, you get red cards and all that. So I wouldn't recommend you guys. You can just leave it on personal player instructions. You're gonna have to tackle harder on them out of position, so your whole team don't have to be tackling harder. In the low block tab, we only have cross engagement. You can stop crosses or you can have it on and by crosses, but normally just keep it on balance. For the mid block, you can have your pressing trap on trap inside, trap outside. Normally just have it on balance again. And up front, we have high press. Just keep your pressing trap on balance. You can have your goalkeeper distributions, which means your attacking players will be pressing, especially striker will be pressing your opponent's goalkeeper and try to prevent him from playing the ball out from the back. And you want to turn this on yes, since it works really, really good. And yes, my people, that's pretty much how you make a perfect tactic. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And if you did so, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave a like on this video. And I'll see you guys in the next video.